Hey y'all, what up? It's your boy JD, representing Functional Patterns out here, shillingin'. I want to give you some notes on myofascial release, just a couple of tips that you can use to make your releases more effective. So right now I am releasing the posterior 45. 45s are significant angles that we use to anchor ourselves. So if we take the thigh, we're gonna have significant trigger points along the anterior 45 like that, and along the posterior 45 right here. And even if we start to consider the entire lumbopelvic hip complex, we're going to see significant 45s here, and the same thing in reverse on the backside. So 45-degree angles is something to consider in myofascial release. Another thing to consider is going to be the fact that these tissues are tiered upon one another. They're layered like that Japanese architecture, or you could think of a wedding cake too. So what we're trying to do is smash all the layers of this wedding cake together, and that's going to draw water into those tissues. You could think of gravity, the whole metaphor of a bowling ball on a bed, how it's going to pull anything in there, or if you drop a marble at the edge of a bowl, how it rolls into it. That is how the water is going to be rushing into the tissue that we are compressing. So first rushing out of it and then rushing back in when we take the ball off. So because of that, the superficial tissues on top are actually going to be less significant when it comes to our movement patterns. And the tissues that are deeper to the bones are really going to be driving those movement patterns. What that means for us is that we want to be getting deeper into those tissues. So let's say I take the ball and I put it there. I'm going to go and I'm really going to sink my weight onto it and just allow it to start to smash that wedding cake. We want the top layer to meet the next layer, to meet the next layer, to meet the next layer. And then once I have them, and I have a bunch of them strung together like that, I might feel something like a chord or a guitar string. And I could begin to strum this. So now that we have the pressure down on this area and we have all these tissues collected together, we can stay there and compress it and release it, and that will help. Another thing that can help is to take the tissues and to slide them in a particular direction. If we're experiencing restrictions, the tissues are going to be oriented towards a particular direction. And if we can get in there and break it up, the deeper tissues that are oriented towards that direction, then we can free up space for our body to begin to move in new ways. And if we can move in these new ways, create better patterns, we will adapt to these new tensions and eventually improve our structure in this way. So with that in mind, I'll just show you what it looks like real quick. Again, lacrosse ball, right? So smashing on top of the tissues. If we tighten up at all, we are going to be working against ourselves, because these tissues that are deeper are going to be blocked by the muscle contractions of the more superficial tissues. So if we tighten up, we're not going to be able to get to that bottom layer of the wedding cake closer to the bone where we need to be making these changes. Okay, so that's a little while of me just compressing it. And now what I'll do is I'll start to move it towards the knee. So I have all these tissues smashed together. I'm keeping the tension of having them smashed together, or keeping my weight focused on them. And now I'm going to begin to take them superiorly away from the knee. So think of the joints as the landmarks, and if I'm smashing the tissue, I'm going to take it away from the joint, or I'm going to move it towards the joint. And that would be going with the direction of the fibers. And I can also take it across, where now I'm moving the tissues medially towards the middle of my body. And I could also move them towards laterally, towards the outside of my body. So now that's going with the fibers, going across the fibers. A lot of the fibers, unlike the hamstrings, will actually run in kind of a crescent shape or a fan shape. That'd be like pec major fibers running this way and also this way. Pec major fibers. If we want to go with the fibers, we're going to be making that crescent shape. And if we want to go across the fibers, we are going to be making a reverse crescent shape. And peeling those fibers back and then just really slowly allowing the tissue to make its way back over is another great way to promote water hydration into the tissues. So that's a couple notes for myofascial release. We'll go over more trigger points. It's your boy. Take care.